What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and I'm here with
Gersh1.
And today we're back in black as we're doing it again, answering your questions in another episode that we like to call For the Greater WAAAGH.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. That is what Brian B. did. He asks, if Hive Fleet Kronos was the size of Hive Fleet Leviathan and it headed towards the Eye of Terror, would it close it for good?
It's a good question, but before we get to that, Brian B., are you related to Bridget B. by any chance?
Probably is.
Because if so...
I like your performances, or I should say your sister's performances.
Do you watch that stuff if you're like related to somebody doing that?
Yeah, there's a whole category for it on Pornhub. Let's explain what the Kronos Hive Fleet is.
Right.
That is the Hive Fleet that is specifically adapted towards fighting chaos.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to nullify, well, all Tyranids nullify the warp, but these guys are specifically designed to fight demons.
Yes, they're Shadow of the Warp. I don't know, I feel like if you're a demon, you're made from like
Nothing.
the warp.
Yeah, ether.
But like the Shadow of the Warp should essentially disintegrate demons, shouldn't they?
I think it weakens them. It's kind of the same thing as like the pariah gene, where like
which isn't a thing anymore. But
well, no, there's blinks.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant like pariahs from Necrons.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I got you.
That was something completely different. So I think it's kind of because in the Eisenhorn books,
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. There was this one chick who was a blank. And when she growing up, she always made people feel uneasy, like it was unsettling. So I picture the pariah gene, or like the Shadow of the Warp, almost as a kind of like getting like what is that called? Poison in your
Poison?
Like food poisoning.
Okay.
Where like it just makes you uneasy because there's something inside of you, and that something inside of you is not really like a foreign food, but it's actually the blanks nullifying powers that you normally have, or nullifying powers pushing down what you normally have, which is the psychic presence. So with the demons, I think they would just be weaker demons. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like with
Sick
lesser
demons.
demons, such as like Nurglings, would it outright like just like paralyze them or something?
I think like the little Gretchen sized Nurglings for sure. I don't think like
the standard Nurglings we all know.
yeah, like what are they called? The ones with the one eye in the middle?
No, that's plague bearers.
Right. I'm pretty sure the plague bearer can still be strong. It'll still be like animalistic and whatnot, but I don't think that the smaller entities would be that bad.
Right.
How come there's no... Oh, wait, there is. Never mind. I was going to say, how come there's no parasite demons? But there is. That's what, like, Nurgle is all about. All those plagues of Nurgle are just little microscopic demons. But we're
anyway,
jumping off on a different tangent. So what would happen if this Kronos Tyranid Hive Fleet went into the Eye of Terror? Well, number one, the Eye of Terror now isn't as big of a threat. Now you have the giant, what is it called?
Mork's Grin, the Cicatrix Maledictum.
Yeah, it's so that's really the big problem. Could it have stopped the Eye of Terror back in the day? I think it could have hurt some things for sure.
It's like getting like something stuck in your eye. It would definitely like aggravate the Eye of Terror.
It would make the Eye of Terror blink
or wink.
Yeah,
since it's just one.
I think it would be interesting too to see, because you did say like the size of the Leviathan Hive Fleet. So yes, it would have to be a bigger fleet.
Right.
I think the Kronos fleet is a what is it called? Tentacle?
Tendril.
Tendril of like
the main hive.
Which I don't know which one it was, but yeah.
Yeah. The thing though is, since it's an offshoot of like the main hive, most likely it probably created itself to fight chaos, as it already entered the galaxy. Like, I don't think that this tendril came to the Milky Way galaxy already having anti-demon, anti-warp capabilities. I think it manifested that as it was going through the Milky Way galaxy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
That's why it's not as big.
Yeah. It would have also been interesting to see what it would have done if it was so close to like the pylons on Cadia. Because they kind of do the same thing. So I wonder if like the pylon strength matched with Kronos Hive Fleet's Shadow of the Warp and demon killing abilities would just severely weaken chaos. We'll never know.
Right. And the interesting thing about that is that Tyranids are very instinctive in their behavior. So killing a being that just goes back into the warp, there's no biomass for them to absorb or to take in and kind of like adapt their bio forms into. Yeah. So that's interesting that the hive mind would create a tendril like that, which is very different than the standard Tyranids.
Yeah, if you look at the two Xenos, I guess, well, one demon and one Xeno, you do notice that they're very similar in that the Tyranids can adapt to whatever it is that they're fighting. The demons can too. Like, you don't necessarily just have to take the shape of a corn bloodletter. Is that what they're called? Yeah, blood. Like any type of demon. Like, you can just go crazy and even get like third-party models and say that they are demons. So they're kind of they're similar in that if you see a giant, what are those Carnifex charging towards you, you'll probably see like a giant demon-looking Carnifex later on. So they're kind of cool. They mirror each other in that way. Demons and Tyranids do.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of depictions in the art of like both Tyranids and demons that we don't have models for. Yeah. So it just goes to show you that, yeah, even though like the pink horrors and like bloodletters, plague bearers, they're the most common ones for that specific god, doesn't mean there's other types of demons out there.
Yeah, one of my favorite pieces of art came from, I think it was the Demon Codex for 5th edition, and it was basically, it was a giant creature flipping over another giant creature, but you don't know which, there's supposed to be Tyranids versus demons, but you don't know which one's the demon and which one's the Tyranid. So it's kind of cool, because they are both, like, they look weird, and they're kind of cool like that. Yeah. But yeah, I hope that answered the question. The answer was, we don't know, because the Eye of Terror isn't that bad anymore.
Right. I mean, it's still bad, just not as bad as the freaking warp scar that's ripping the universe in half.
Yes.
This one's by Bull Scrap Prac F. How do Necrons avoid chaos corruption if the average rank and file is essentially a tool? So yeah, you're right. Necron warriors don't have a personality. They don't have I guess you could say, essence. They're just kind of like robotic. They follow the protocols of the dynasty, of the Lord, and that's it. And that's why they don't get corrupted, because there's nothing to corrupt. It's literally just like a hunk of living metal.
Exactly. Yep. And they're made up of nanoscarabs, and the nanoscarabs, I think, the key to not being corrupted is the nanoscarabs, because it's each individual little like bug that interacts. Whereas like sometimes you see the Nurgle ships. They're ships, but they're all like Nurglified and they're all warped. And the reason that happens is because they're not living autonomous creatures. Yeah. Whereas like the Necrons are.
They're not just like hulks of metal. They're living metal.
Yeah, they're little.
Big. What about Necron lords? Do you think those can get corrupted?
No, I think it's the same thing. I think like even with their intelligence, I don't think a Necron Lord can really be corrupted by something like that. Also, you have to keep in mind that the Necrons have been fighting not just like demons and chaos, but they've been fighting Immaterium stuff since the beginning of their existence, before they even were Necrons, when they were the
Necron tier.
Yeah, they've been fighting the old ones, and the old ones were all about using psychic ability, so they developed a way. Well, I mean, obviously they created the pylons, which was able to nullify the warp, or not nullify the warp, but whatever the pylons were doing. So you have to think that they must have smaller little like nullifying powers within their own nanoscarabs.
Maybe they got little pylon peepees that push away the warp.
Yes, peepees.
You got one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Next question comes from Carl Staub. If a Space Marine pilot were to undergo the Dreadnought process, would they entomb him into an aircraft or a usual Dreadnought? Seems to me that he would be better served as a hardwired pilot that uses another Dreadnought.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, there is no life support system, or like the sarcophagus of a Dreadnought is meant for a Dreadnought's body.
Right.
It's not meant for a ship. So it's almost like taking the hardware of one machine and trying to fit it into the other, where the other was not built even
to accept that.
Yeah, or vice versa. So I don't think that could happen, though.
Right. And as great a pilot as the Space Marine is, yeah, I mean, being a pilot's very beneficial to any war engine. You can deploy your troops where you need to, have aerial combat, go and do like strikes, strafing rooms, bombings, etc. But with a dreadnought, I feel like that's just more in your face, more visceral, which 40K isn't it's not like aeronautic, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Like the X-Wing or whatever.
The new one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are ships, but you don't really see that too much in the 40K game. So I think that's why it's strictly just the sarcophagus of a dreadnought and not like flyers or anything like that.
Yeah, and also remember that they're losing their mind. So when you see a dreadnought out in the battlefield, it's supposed to be a situation of great honor because you're bringing basically this old man that has been in the nursing home for so long. Well, not even a nursing home, just stuck inside of a tomb for so long. So he's out and he's just like ravaging. Can you imagine having a Thunderhawk gunship where the pilot is just crazy? Like it would just be a kamikaze pilot thing. So you have to keep that in mind too. You want the berserker mindset in a close combat unit, not the berserker mindset in something that's going to transport you from place to place.
Right, because then you're just like, well, I guess you could say your men are always in danger by being next to a dreadnought because they could always go crazy at any time.
Yeah, go stupid.
They go absolutely bonkers.
Next question.
This one's by Grand Moff Revan. Would a lightsaber deflect or cut a Space Marine bolt? From like a bolt pistol? I don't know. Because like a bolt is literally a fist-sized bullet that explodes upon impact. So I feel like if you're going to cut this bolt with a lightsaber, as soon as you cut it, it'll blow up. Now, does it have a delay reaction? Like you shoot the bolt, the Jedi or whatever uses the force to like move or like slow it down or whatever, cuts it with the lightsaber. I feel like the propulsion of the bolt would push it too far, so it'd cut, but it'd probably blow up already after the fact.
So it's like cutting into a grenade, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough because the lore of 40K paints the bolter rounds to be like crazy good.
You could penetrate through like really thick armor and stuff.
They got a big dick energy. Next question.
This one's by Darth Hunter. How much crew does an Imperial warship generally need to properly operate in a war zone? Let's say Emperor class or any other ship for that matter. A lot. Yeah, a lot. Because the thing that like I never liked using or like the lore of like ships or like naval warfare like that, because most of the time when you see obviously the Space Marines, they're already fighting like on a planet on the ground. They got boots on the ground. Yes, they talk about like battle barges fighting against one another, and they can have like cyclonic torpedoes and all that, and that's cool and all, but there's a lot that goes to actually manning a ship, cleaning it, the maintenance, making sure everything's prepped and ready, reloading weaponry, and that's a lot for Space Marines to be doing, and most of the time they're not doing that. That's left for like the servitors or regular humans or
the chapter serfs.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, and then it changes from like faction to faction. So if you go into the like Astra Militarum, they have like renegade psychers and telepaths and stuff like that. So like it gets very like detailed and specific.
Yeah, you have to remember that the chapter serfs that actually operate these fleets and stuff, along with the what are they called, the Tech Marines, their position is hereditary. So like they're from birth. Yeah. They're called Voidborn. Check out our 45s on the Voidborn. But yeah, so they have as much experience flying in these battleships as you have living on Earth. So
and that's essentially all they know. That's their home. Born in it, probably will die in it. So
forever, ever. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. And
keep on doing what you're doing, guys. This has been the Sound Alchemist,
Gershwan,
and we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.